Hi, I'm Sue Elliott.
And I'm Ed Holen. Welcome to this edition of Ready, Set, No, brought to you by Informing Families Building Trust.
You know, for over a decade, advocates have been working hard to try to address the unmet needs of the individuals and families of our state.
One of the things that I've often wondered is how many people who in fact are eligible for DD services but not receiving any might be eligible for the entitlement program called Medicaid Personal Care. After doing some digging and research, we found out that maybe even up to a third of those folks might in fact be eligible for Medicaid personal care.
If your family member is on the DDD No Paid Services caseload, there's a 1 in 3 chance that they may be eligible for Medicaid personal care.
We've asked Dee Dee Garman, who is a parent and a Medicaid personal care trainer, and Shaw Seaman from the Division of Developmental Disabilities to talk to us about some ideas about Medicaid personal care and how to ask for assistance.
Medicaid personal care is for people who cannot do the task of daily living on their own. They will need assistance in doing it. Some people need just verbal reminders. Some people need help with partial assistance to do it, and some people need full assistance to do it.
You have to have Medicaid, obviously, to receive Medicaid personal care. So a categorically needy person, and it has SSI, or typically Medicaid and SSI is what a person would have. And then the second piece is you have to be functionally eligible, and that's where the assessment comes in. And that is DDD's role as the case manager would do the care assessment, right, comprehensive assessment. And you would have to qualify as having partial or unmet needs in 3 specific areas, and those are activities of daily living.
An activity of daily living can include bathing, dressing, toileting, preparing your food, helping you to eat your food. Anything that you would do typically that you will need assistance with, that the typical person does on a daily basis, that you're needing assistance with, is what an activity of daily living is.
Many clients do qualify for some number of hours. And depending on what their functional ability assessment comes out at, they may qualify for 20 hours a month. They may qualify for 150 hours a month. It's all driven by the care assessment.
And during that care assessment, they ask you questions about what type of assistance is needed to do daily activities, such as the laundry, possibly cleaning, helping clean the house, changing the beds, bathing, preparing meals, shopping for the stuff that you need to cook your meals, cooking your meal. Just an array of things that they will ask you, and then they will ask you how much support that person needs, whether they need just some cues or reminders, or whether they need partial assistance or full assistance. Sometimes an activity will need more assistance than another one, and so they just score that all up. And once they score that up, then that will tell you how many hours of support you will be able to have. Medicaid personal care can be provided by an agency, where you go tell the agency what hours you have, what type of service you need, and they will try to match you up with somebody. Or it can be done by an individual provider.
An individual personal care provider can be your sister or a friend, or somebody where you go through local resources just to identify. The Home Care Quality Authority has registries where you can get names of individual providers.
If your child has been found eligible with DDD and yet you don't have a case manager because you're not having any paid services, you can call the DDD office and ask for a care assessment to see if your child or your loved one qualifies for Medicaid personal care hours.
They can specifically say, I'm interested in receiving Medicaid personal care, and my son or daughter or I need to have an assessment, and I understand that DDD can provide that assessment. Request that, and then persist with that. And then ultimately, if there is an assessment and they're determined eligible, functionally eligible, as we talked about earlier, then they absolutely can receive the Medicaid personal care service. Once that's done, then they will have case management.
When Lacey did start receiving Medicaid personal care hours, it was really important to me that I prepared for her to be out of school. So when I received those hours, I hired other people so that when she left school, her circle of support wasn't shrinking it was being replaced with people in her life as an adult. So that's how we did it for Lacey. It's worked out really, really well. And when we have had family emergencies and had the need to have somebody there, they were able to come alongside of us and put in those hours while we took care of our family emergencies.
If your family member is a client of the Division of Developmental Disabilities and on the No Paid Services caseload, it's well worth your time and effort to call the division and ask for a care assessment. That's C-A-R-E assessment. And remember, Medicaid personal care is for both children and adults.
You know, we've come across a lot of families that identify themselves as being on SSI, and they might not even know to ask the next question. So I think that's great advice to request whether or not they're qualified for Medicaid and ask for the care assessment. For additional information and resources, visit the Informing Families Building Trust website, like us on Facebook, and request being added to our listserv. That's it for this edition of Ready, Set, No, brought to you by Informing Families Building Trust.